Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back. Our guest today is my good friend Thomas Parilla, president of the Parilla Investment Group. Welcome back, sir.
Hi, Ivan. Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's really great to see you. I wanted to get you down and talk about all the excitement that's happening in the silver and gold markets. Right now, gold is hitting new all-time highs. Central banks are buying it at record pace. And we even have talks about Fort Knox being audited and if the gold is really there. But let's start off with gold prices. Where do you think we're going from here?
Higher. Yeah, we're at 29.56 now in gold, 33.42 in silver. I'm going to stick to my numbers. 5,000 by the end of the year, by the end of January of next year, and $100 silver. Now, both are great buys. Silver's the better buy. That'd be about a 60% return from here on gold, but a 200% return on silver.
Wow.
And right now, your gold silver ratio is 89.69. So it's still way out of whack. Silver's definitely undervalued at this level, but both are going to go higher. And I think the theme, even if you look at over the next 4 years, it's just dead. I just pulled this number up. Over the next 4 years, the United States will need to sell 28 trillion in debt.
That's insane.
It's almost like Trump was set up because I'm sure Treasury had this stuff lined up. They know how much is coming. I'm sure they could have redone some of this debt earlier. That debt was probably financed at around 2%. If
Right.
we have to refinance that at 5%, that's an extra 840 billion in additional interest just from that. So you're talking almost another $1 trillion in interest payments. And last year I think it was the first time we crossed where our debt crossed the interest higher than the U.S. Defense spending.
Okay.
You're going to run into a situation somewhere down the line where you're just going to be selling treasuries for enough money to come in to pay the interest on those treasuries. It's like a neighbor who spends too much money, they max out their credit cards, and pretty soon all they can do is bring enough in from their salary to pay the debt on the credit card, but never pay the credit card down.
Yeah, which is insane because you're just
Sooner or
paying the
later they're going
interest.
bank. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
going bankrupt just sooner or later. And that's the problem you're going to run into here. 28 trillion has to be refinanced over the next 4 years. And that's why Trump's guys, they have to right now talk the 10-year note down in interest. They just have to. They're trying. But the problem's going to be, there's going to be so much supply coming on board. It's going to be a real struggle. Now, what they're doing with Doji is very interesting. And I with you having 250,000 followers, yeah, that's a powerful group of guys right there. They're talking now about sending $5,000 checks out per person, 10,000 per family here in the United States for these Doji supposed tax savings checks. Now, that money, if you were to take that just with your own followers and 5,000 people, what took their $5,000, that would equate to 1.25 trillion. Sorry about the noise there,
No,
Ivan.
that's okay. No, that's okay.
Can you hear that pup in the
No,
background?
no, I can't hear anything. You're good.
That's my crack investment team. Yeah, it's nighttime, so we had a kind of a small mini blizzard last night, so everybody's not cleaning up today. So
Yeah,
there's
no, that's
a lot of
okay.
people walking around.
I wanted to get you on to even talk to you about like Fort Knox. What do you think that's happening there? Is the gold really there? How will that affect if the gold's not there and it's leased out or something?
Well, I think the truth is going to be like we've seen for the last, decades and decades. You're never going to know the exact truth. If it's not there, they really can't tell you because if they do, that means the whole thing is nothing but fraud. And we're going to pull the curtain back and you're going to see that. And then it all falls apart. So my guess is they're going to do one of two things. They're either just never going to do an audit or they're going to stall it out as far as they can and bring gold in so it's sitting there when they do the audit. And they could probably fly in loads of 1 ton at a time, in smaller jets if they're flying in the larger ones more. But my guess is that's what they're going to do. They're either going to stall long enough to put it in there, or they're going to turn around and just never do the audit because
Right.
you can't let people know that it's not there. Now, even if it is there, let's say Elon Musk goes in, the physical gold's all sitting there saying, "Hey, there it is. We proved it out. The gold's there." That doesn't really mean anything because, like you said, they could have sold that or leased it out to 1,000 different people.
Right.
And that's the real problem. I saw a number the other day. If you were to go ahead and just simply take care of all of the paper, gold and silver, and turn that into physical metals, I think gold would be like $392,000 per ounce.
Right. Which is
It,
pretty insane.
Yeah, it's insane. And the other part that you got to think about too is if they go in there, the gold's not there, all of a sudden you pull the curtain back and they say, okay, now you guys have to come in with deliveries. You got to deliver this gold. Well, what happens to the rest of the our banking system? The whole banking system would be in, in a collapse situation. So I don't think they can let that happen. Right now, the commercial real estate market is just hanging on by a thread. And I think really the last thing we need is one more thing to come into the government, into our economy that throws us off. On massive amounts of drilling. And that's the key. There's no fluff. You just present your drill assays and say, here's what we're finding. And companies like Newmont and Barrick love that because they'll send their geological team in and they'll just sit there and go through your books and say, okay, wow, okay, we've got it. We need that production. But the key is because they need it so bad, they got to pay for it. These
Right.
exploration miners right now have not done very well in the market. Even though Goliath is up 200%, the bulk of the rest of the exploration miners have barely moved. I mean, you look at Juggernaut, Tudor, they've barely budged. That's going to change, I think, because that's usually the last part of the cycle. The producing miners go out searching for more supply, and they go to the guys who have proved out their property. They pull their drill reports up, and then they make them an offer, and it has to be an offer at a premium. Otherwise, they're not going to get them. So that part of the market is exciting. So there's so many other things going on that's bad about our economy, our country, the world. I mean, if you see what's going on in Israel tonight, I mean, it's a travesty. I mean, they blew
Yeah.
up. I mean, you think about evil. I mean, you rig buses so they're going to blow up during the dead baby's funerals. Are you
Yeah,
kidding me?
that's insane.
That's just pure evil.
Yeah, it's literally
You know,
evil.
that's just pure evil. So, I mean, the whole world could use a real reset. And so there's one thing I look at that makes me excited. I look at the Golden Triangle and say, boy, that's exciting. These are guys who are staking their claim. They've risked everything. They made their claim and now they're proving out their properties. And I hope they get rich. I hope they become billionaires. I hope they become the next group of, the Sprott McEwens, these new guys like Roger Rasmus and Dan Stewart. I hope that's what they become because they're taking their shot. And that's what America, Canada, the free world, that's what we were always made up of. Guys who are willing to take risk capital and take a shot and just see what they can do. I think that part's exciting. So that gives me some hope. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're surrounded by doom 24 hours a day.
Literally, especially if you're looking in the news, it's all doom. And
Oh,
before we were talking, before we actually started recording, we were talking about Doge and how there's a possibility where checks are going to be sent out 5,000 to every, I don't if a US citizen or whoever has been, I don't know exactly what the details are, but yeah, what were you talking about?
it's supposed to be, the rumor is right now to be 5,000 per person, 10,000 per household.
Right.
But I was looking at this and I'm saying, geez, if you did, say, for example, your company, Wall Street Bullion, I mean, you've got a large following, 250,000 followers. That's powerful. If you did the Wall Street $5,000 Doji challenge, where you challenged everybody, take your $5,000 check, immediately cash it into that worthless fiat dollar, and turn it immediately into physical metals and go out and buy gold and silver. Just your group alone, you're talking $1.25 trillion in buying. Now, you got to figure they're going to go to work, go to school, go home, go to church. They're going to tell their friends what they did. So maybe you tack on another 20 or 30% trickle down. You all by yourself could equate to like $1.5 trillion worth of buying.
Which is
And
insane.
I think that's something that could catch on all around the country because I think people would see this and say, wow, they're making a smart move. I could go spend that 5,000 bucks right now on something that's going to be probably useless in 2 or 3 years, or I could go buy that physical gold and silver and watch it appreciate. Now, on an inflation point, these checks, the concerning part for me would be the last time we had stimulus checks, lumber and a bunch of goods coming in from Canada shot through the roof because everybody here in the United States went out and remodeled their garage and their back porch and their extra room. So you had a scarcity of goods. And that's where sometimes there's a confusion on inflation. the majority of the inflation we faced in our lifetime has been the devaluation of the dollar.
Right.
A guy asked me the other day, "Hey, what define inflation to me?" Well, I don't know if there is inflation. I think what there is there's the devaluation of the dollar. The cost of a particular good, it might be the same as it was in the 50s or in the 70s. But now you look at it and the dollar has devalued so much, it just takes more dollars to buy it. And that's what we view as inflation because that's what we've been raised on our whole life. So you've got two different sides of it. One is the devaluation of the dollar, the other was scarcity of goods. Now, these checks, the risk you would have, especially with tariffs in place now, all of a sudden lumber coming in from Canada could skyrocket because
Right.
again, you're going to have a bottleneck where all of a sudden everybody's trying to buy the same good at the same time, and there's just not that much of it.
Yeah.
So that was my big complaint when Biden was in office. The supply chain got broke, and that's really where the inflation came from. And then the Fed, of course, rushes in to save us because, they all know what they're talking about. And they raised interest rates and choked the economy off in order to bring interest rates down. Well, the problem was they kept saying, geez, it's not working just yet. And that's because the bump in the interest rates really wasn't affecting us all that much because it was a supply chain issue, not an overheating economy. Where the Fed can really be effective in fighting inflation is if the economy overheats and then they come in and they start pumping interest rates higher, like Volcker did. Uh, and that slows the economy and that brings inflation down because then demand goes down.
Hello, my fellow silver and gold stacker. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching the channel. Subscribe, please like the video, and also hit the notification bell. Keep stacking.
But in this particular case, it wasn't too much demand. It was just not enough goods on our shelves. I mean, a lot of
Yeah,
the grocery
absolutely.
stores were empty. So I think that's going to be a real challenge for Trump right now. I mean, he's got goods he's going to want to bring into the country, especially from Canada. That's a big trading partner of ours. So these $5,000 checks come out. They're going to have to be careful they don't create bottlenecks like they did last time. So
Yeah.
in many ways, you'd be doing the country a great favor and potentially creating a bit of a bottleneck on the precious metal side, where we shift the buying from maybe someone buying lumber or something else to buying physical gold and silver.
Yeah, no, you absolutely nailed it, Thomas, because I think that would be such a great idea. And especially if everyone is going into assets that actually appreciate instead of staying in a devaluated dollar, I think that's really, really huge. But I wanted to thank you so much for coming down to the community. It's such a huge, huge breath of fresh air when you come down to speak to the whole gold and silver community. Where can people connect with you? I'm going to put your links in the description below, but I'd love for people to connect with you.
Yeah, easiest way to get me is out on LinkedIn. And even if I'm traveling, I try to check in there at least once a day or twice a day. So that's the easiest way for anybody to get a hold of me.
Yeah, no, it's a huge pleasure for you coming down, Thomas. And again, as the market develops, I'd absolutely love to have you on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks, Ivan.